Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be talking about Orioles and Angels Game 2 that ended just a little bit ago, where the Orioles got a big win in this game. They won this game 6-5. The offense went out there, did their thing. The pitching overall wasn't necessarily great, but the offense was able to make up for it and go out there and put up 6 runs in this game, and obviously we go out there and get the win. But that also means that we went out there and got a series win. So the Orioles in this series against the Angels are up 2-0 in this series, which means that the Orioles have won a series, finally. After back-to-back series losses to the Tigers and the A's, the Orioles are back on track with a series win over a very hot Angels team. But the Orioles do their job to go out there and settle them down and get back on track with a series win. Because at the end of the day, as I've said multiple times before, recently over the past month or two now, all the Orioles need to be doing is focus on winning series, taking a minimum 2 out of 3 of a series, or best case scenario, obviously going for the sweep. And the Orioles will have that opportunity to get the sweep tomorrow on Father's Day. And I think Cade Povich is going to be pitching for us tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes. But today was Tomoyuki Sagano Day. He goes out there, doesn't have a great start, probably has one of the worst, if not the worst start he's had all season. But if the bar is set that low to where 4 2/3 innings and giving up 3 runs is your worst start, that means that you're doing something right this season. So Tomoyuki Sagano doesn't have a great game, only gives up 3 runs in this game, but he does only go 4 2/3 innings, so you would have loved to see him maybe go a little bit more, but the bullpen was able to do its thing. The bullpen gave up a couple of runs, but at the end of the day, Felix Bautista and the deep part of this bullpen really does their thing and closes off the win for this Orioles team. The Orioles offense also hit 2 home runs today. Cedric Mullins hit a 2-run bomb. Gary Sanchez, who made his return back to this Orioles team, hit a home run in his return. Gary Sanchez has been hurt for quite a while now. Obviously, the Orioles' backup catcher, we've been having to go through Chadwick Thromp and Maverick Handley, and now that Gary Sanchez is back and him hitting a home run, really does enlist a lot of confidence in this Orioles team, and it's good to see our main backup catcher back out there playing, and also getting a home run today. And Gary Sanchez this season hasn't necessarily done great in the little starts that he's had, but it's better than Chadwick Thromp and Maverick Handley. So we'll take Gary Sanchez all day. He gets a big home run in this game too. It was just a solo home run, but it was a home run to extend the lead even further, which actually ended up, being the deciding factor in us winning this game. So shout out to Gary Sanchez, shout out to Cedric Mullins, obviously. Kobe Mayo got a 2-hit game in this game. People were just getting base hits. We were getting on base. We were converting runs. Things were looking really, really, really good. And this is one of those games where the pitching wasn't necessarily great. We gave up 5 runs in this game. But the offense, while the pitching wasn't doing good, the offense went out there and did their thing and put up 6 runs in this game. And that is something that we haven't seen the Orioles do a lot this year. A lot of the time when the starting pitching's bad and we go down into an early deficit, or overall if the pitching just gives up a good amount of runs, we just haven't been able to really break through. But with guys like Jordan Westburg, who made a huge difference in today's game, guys like Jordan Westbrook back obviously making a huge difference. Colton Cowser, who hasn't played in the past couple of games because he's a little bit shaken up after crashing into the wall a couple nights ago. But he's obviously made a huge difference, getting Cedric back, getting, obviously Gary Sanchez back as well. So the Orioles are getting guys back from injury, and very noticeably this offense is looking a lot better. They're producing a lot more. And obviously they did struggle the other day against Eric Skubal. They did struggle a little bit yesterday, even though they got the win against the Angels. But you can just see this offense has way better at-bats. They're working the pitchers a lot more. They're getting on base more, and they're producing runs more at a high level. So you just want to see this, you just want them to keep this up, because at the same time, they still got a long way to go before they really get back into the season. Obviously, step 1 is to get to 500 and better. They're right now 11 games back of 500, but let's just get right into this game. Going over this Orioles and Angels game, obviously, as I said earlier, the Orioles win this game 6-5 over the Angels, and the Orioles have now won 2 straight games, and they've also won this series already because they're up 2-0 in the series and looking for the sweep tomorrow. But the Orioles record right now is sitting at 29-40, And if they can win tomorrow and get the sweep on the Angels, and their record, if they win tomorrow, will go to 30-40. And 30-40 looks a hell of a lot better than 25 or in 37, or 21-38, and stuff like that. So this Orioles team is really finding a way to come back. They have made a lot of progress this month in terms of chipping down this deficit that they're in, and they're doing a good job at it. And I'm not going to sit here and say that things have not gotten worse for this Orioles team. Obviously, you think of the month of April, you think of the month of May, where things were just kind of rock bottom for this Orioles team in terms of injuries, in terms of how they're playing on the field. Obviously, your manager gets fired in the mix of all of that, but this Orioles team is really finding its way. It's finding its rhythm. You can see the energy within the team. You can also see the energy within the fans that have been showing up as well. There is a sense of urgency within this team this month. You can really tell that there's a sense of urgency within this team because they know that they got to get right by All-Star break, and they got to get right by the trade deadline, because that's when the ultimate decisions of what do we do for the rest of the season, take place. And if the Orioles can obviously win tomorrow, if they can get to 30-40 on the season, that is very much comebackable. That's very much salvageable as a season for the Orioles. You look at the Mets last year, who were in a very similar scenario as the Orioles are in right now in terms of record. I think the Mets have had a few more wins than the Orioles did at this point, but still, the Orioles have a chance to come back into the season. It is not over. If they can, but again, as I've said multiple times already this episode, they got to go out there and win tomorrow. If they lose tomorrow, they're 29-41. If they win tomorrow, they're 30-40. And when you look at the record 30-40, it just looks a lot better, and I think that will also instill a lot of confidence within this team. But going over this offense today, because this offense was great, 11 total hits on the day. 2 walks, went 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position, left 7 guys on base, but did put up 6 total runs in this game. Jackson Holliday was leading off again. He goes 1 for 5 with a run scored. He hit the ball very hard a few times this game. I remember one, it was a fly out to right field that Jackson hit the ball right on the nose, hit it very, very hard, and it barely just didn't get out. So Jackson could have easily had a home run in this game, but it just barely didn't get out. But Jackson Holliday, obviously, he's been great. Hit the ball very hard today. He only does go 1 for 5 in this game with a run scored, but he could have easily had 2, maybe even 3 hits in this game if luck was just on his side, just a little bit in this game. But Adley Rutschman in this game, he goes 2 for 3 with a run scored and a walk as well, so gets on base 3 times. And you really are starting to see Adley Rutschman's average kind of creep up there. Adley was batting like a 198, like a 192 to a 198 to a low 200s, just a couple of weeks ago. And right now he's batting a 232 on the season, which still obviously isn't the Adley Rutschman that we know, but he is getting back into the groove, and he is really finding a rhythm this month of June, which is where the Orioles have played their best baseball all season. Gunnar Henderson in this game goes 1 for 4 with a run scored and an RBI. Jordan Westburg in this game goes 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs, a huge 2 RBI play. He also So the first RBI that he got was a ground out where the third baseman obviously came home, and then he also got another big RBI in this game to tie the game early on in the game. But Jordan Westbrook, obviously we know him as the producer. We know him as the guy who's going to go out there and just always make the right play at the right time, and it's something you can always rely on to do the right thing in certain scenarios, whether that's get walked, whether that's get on base, whether that's get a single, whether it's driving in a run. You look back to last season, how reliable Jordan Westbrook was. And once again, he is that same exact guy that we know him as this year. His batting average isn't crazy high. Obviously, he was hurt for like a month and a half, so still getting back into the groove of everything. But Jordan Westbrook, we know, is great. Ramon Laureano in this game goes over 3 with a run scored and a walk. Cedric Mullins in this game. This man is the MVP of the game. This man is the player of the game. It's been a while since I've given Cedric Mullins player of the game, but he was the player that really turned the tides in this game. Back in the 6th inning, the Orioles were losing this game 5-4, and Cedric Mullins was really the guy they were losing this game 4-3. The Orioles were losing this game 4-3, and Cedric Mullins hit a big 2-run homer in the 6th inning to give the Orioles a 5-4 lead, and then eventually Gary Sanchez hit a home run to make it 6-4, and then the Angels put on a run in the 8th inning, but we'll get over that in just a second. But Cedric Mullins in this game, 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a solo home run a 2-run homer in this game, and that was the run. That was kind of the go-ahead run in a way. It put the Orioles ahead, and the Orioles didn't lose the lead after that. So shout out to Cedric Mullins. He obviously started off the season great, then he kind of slowed down a little bit, then he got hurt, then he came back, and he's out here doing his thing. Cedric Mullins, we love you. Longest tenured Oriole for a reason, and he went out there and made big plays to help us win this game. Speaking of Gary Sanchez, as I just said, Gary Sanchez in this game goes 1 for 3 with a solo home run in this game, and this was the 6th run that the Orioles scored. This made the Orioles up 6-4 in this game before the Angels put up a run in the 8th inning off of a home run. But Gary Sanchez really was the final run that the Orioles scored in this game, and it was the perfect, little just cushion of a lead that the Orioles had, and Gary Sanchez helped out a lot with that. Gary Sanchez, obviously, this season, he struggled a lot, only a 121 average this season. He has not played a lot of games. He does not have a lot of appearances at bat, but he goes out there and has a big hit today. Big home run today for Gary Sanchez. You'd love to see it, and it really was a big difference maker in this game. Him and Cedric Mullins were big difference makers in this game when we're talking in the 6th inning. Dylan Carlson in this game continues. Dylan Carlson in this game goes 1 for 4. He just continues to get on base. He continues to do his thing. He continues to just be kind of reliable. Whether it's a 1 for 4 night, whether it's an 0 for 3 with a walk night, Dylan Carlson has just been that guy for the Orioles. And someone that I want to talk about in this game who is batting 9th today, Kobe Mayo in this game goes 2 for 4 with a double and a single. So Kobe Mayo, someone who, as a lot of y'all know, is one of the top prospects for the Orioles. He's the number 2 prospect for the Orioles. He was one of the top prospects in baseball over the past couple of years. A lot of the attention was obviously focused on last season. But Kobe Mayo, who we called up last year, he was horrible in the little opportunities that he had last year. He was horrible. Then he was in AAA at the beginning of the season, and we called him up after the Jordan Westbrook injury. And now Kobe Mayo has pretty much resorted to a full-time first baseman right now, because with the Ryan Mountcastle injury, Ryan Mountcastle is not going to be back for another 2 to 3 months is what some people are saying. So we're not going to see Ryan Mountcastle for a very, very long time. We might not even see him. It might be till the very end of the year before we see Ryan Mountcastle, is all I'm going to say. So Kobe Mayo, in the time being, is going to get a lot of opportunities to play first base. Much like Heston Kjerstad got a lot of opportunities to play in the outfield with the Calzer injury and the Tyler O'Neill injury and stuff like that, Kobe Mayo is going to get a lot of opportunities here to play a good first baseman and prove why he deserves to be on this team, and prove why he's one of the top prospects in baseball, formerly one of the top prospects in baseball. He is off that list now because he has played in the majors for too long. Or eclipse the amount of games you needed to play. But Kobe Mayo on the season, a 175 average, obviously isn't great, but he has been a lot more solid recently, and he's had a lot more better at bats. You can see he's a lot more confident in his ability, and he was saying in a lot of interviews that him playing first base is kind of taking his mind more focused on the hitting. Instead of having to play third base, he's kind of more focused on just hitting the ball, because first base doesn't necessarily require it requires a lot of thought. Obviously, I'm not sitting here saying that it doesn't require any thought. First base is obviously a very skilled position. Any ball that comes at you on the first base side, and also you're involved in a lot of plays due to anytime there's a ground out, throw out to first or whatever. So Kobe Mayo's involved with a lot of plays on defense, but it does kind of take the pressure away just a little bit. Because I would definitely say that third base is a lot harder to play than first base. So Kobe Mayo's been able to kind of zone in more on his hitting, which is nice to see. But Kobe Mayo gets a 2-hit game today. Obviously, Kobe Mayo is a guy who I would really love to see kind of grow more into the player that he's supposed to be. He was a very highly doubted prospect. He's a guy who had a lot of promise and a lot of just opportunity to get a lot of opportunities. And now Kobe Mayo's getting a big chance to go out there and put up some good at-bats, he's going to have a big opportunity to prove why he deserves to be the first baseman of the future, because as we know, with Ryan Mountcastle, his future in Baltimore isn't necessarily safe at all. He was involved in a lot of trade conversations this offseason. Even back at the deadline last year, people were discussing some trade deadline stuff with him. But especially with the injury that he has right now and his past injury history, Ryan Mountcastle, I'm sure, probably isn't long-term looked at as an Oriole, much like guys like Jackson Holliday, Adley, Gunnar, Jordan, Colton Cowser, guys like that. So, but when you look at someone like Kobe Mayo, who is young, who you have a lot of control with, I think the Orioles would love to have Kobe Mayo be their full-time first baseman moving forward. But we'll see what happens with that. I've talked about Kobe Mayo a lot already this episode, but he is someone that can make a big difference for the Orioles if he can get hot. I think he has all the opportunity in the world and all the ability in the world to do great. In the minor leagues, he was fantastic. He was spectacular in the minors. He was hitting bomb after bomb after bomb back in AAA Norfolk. So we'll see what he does now. He had a 2-hit game today. I think this is his second multi-hit game of his career. And, obviously last year he didn't get a lot of starts, or he didn't get a lot of playing time. But this year he's already got more playing time than he did last year. 175 average, a 250 on base percentage, and a 225 slug. Not great stats when you look at it like that, but I do have a lot of confidence that it's going to get better with Kobe Mayo. But going over to the pitching in this game, Tomoyuki Sugano did struggle a little bit in this game and struggles early on as well. He gave up a 2-run homer to Mike Trout in the first inning. And after that happened, you kind of just had to sit there and say, that's Mike Trout. That's a future Hall of Famer. That's one of the greatest. That's literally one of the greatest of all time. He's going to do that. You just kind of have to live with it. It was also his first time facing Tomoyuki Sugano, and Tomo lost that battle. But Tomoyuki Sugano bounced back pretty well after that 2-run homer that he gave up against Trout. He didn't go a lot of innings in this game, which was the biggest problem about his stat line. Tomo got through 4.2 innings, gave up 6 hits, 2 walks, 3 runs, had 4 strikeouts, and obviously gave up that 2-run homer to Mike Trout. His ERA goes up a little bit to a 3.38. Still a very solid ERA on the season for Tomo. The best starting pitcher ERA on the Orioles still. It's been like that pretty much all season. But Tomoyuki Sugano, with the worst start of the season that he's had, but if you're getting through 4.2 innings and only giving up 3 runs, and that is your worst start, like that's the bottom, then the expectation, you live with that. Obviously that's not too bad if that's your worst start. So Tomoyuki Sugano couldn't really push through in this game. 80 pitch count through 4.2 innings. Couldn't really get going too much. Tony Mansolino decided to kind of pull him out the game, which is the right decision. He was struggling a little bit, wanted to get him out of there before it got too bad. But Tomoyuki Sugano with a solid game, not anything like absolutely horrendous, but not anything great as well. Would have wished that he could have gone a little bit farther in this game, maybe within the 5s, but 4.2 innings, 3 runs will do, because the bullpen went out there and did their job and shut it down for the most part. Keegan Aiken gave up a home run in this game. A lot of the runs that were scored by the Angels in this game, I think actually all of them were scored by home runs. I'm pretty sure they hit 3 home runs total in this game. Obviously, Mike Trout hits a 2-run homer, and then Keegan Aiken gives up a home run. Seranthony Dominguez comes into the game. He does good, doesn't give up a run. Andrew Kittredge gives up a home run in the 8th inning. Brian Baker comes into the game, has 2 pitches in the 8th inning, but gets out of it because Adley Rutschman was able to make a big-time throw over to second base to Gunnar Henderson. Perfect throw to get the runner out. That ended the inning for Brian Baker. Obviously, he didn't come out there for the 9th inning because that was Felix's job. And he goes out there, 22 pitch count in the last inning. Wasn't necessarily the cleanest inning in the world. We've seen Felix struggle a little bit in terms of walking guys this year, but other than the walks, he's been automatic. Felix in this game gets a save in this game that is back-to-back saves for Felix Bautista, his 14th save of the year in 15 opportunities. His ERA is at a 3.04, which obviously is very solid for a closing pitcher, so shout out to Felix Bautista for those back-to-back saves. I'm obviously assuming he's not going to be on the table for tomorrow, so hopefully the Orioles can win tomorrow with ease and not even have to worry about the 9th inning or a pitcher blowing the lead in the 9th inning or this game being close late game. But again, Tomoyuki Sugano, not the greatest game in the world, only got through 4.2. It gives up 3 runs. But not the worst thing in the world. It was very winnable and very manageable. Keegan Aiken and Andrew Kittredge also gave up solo home runs themselves. But Seranthony Dominguez, Brian Baker, and Felix Bautista all went in there and shut it down and got the job done for the O's. There was 26,000 fans in Camden Yards today, which is really cool to see. Even whenever you're watching the games, you can just tell that the energy is a lot different now than it was at the beginning of the year. You can tell that there's life in this team. You can tell that there's urgency. You can tell that this team wants to get this season back on track because they know deep down that they have the talent on offense and they have the heart as a team to make a playoff run and maybe we'll see what happens in the playoffs. Obviously, playoffs are a long way away. There's no point of me even talking about it right now, but this team knows that they have the team to get into the playoffs, but they've got to right all of their wrongs that they've made at the beginning of the season. They've got to undo that and go on a run, and they've won back-to-back games. They won this series against the Angels. They're going for the sweep tomorrow. We'll see what happens tomorrow, and hopefully they can get a sweep in tomorrow's game. It is going to be Yusei Kikuchi versus Cade Povich, so it's going to be the Angels' best pitcher that they have versus Cade Povich, who is, obviously one of the worst starters that the Orioles have. Cade just has not lived up to expectation. You can tell that he has stuff. You can tell that he has promise, but we just have not necessarily seen it completely out of Cade. We've seen a couple good starts, but overall for Cade, it has not been great, even dating back to last season. But tomorrow's going to be Yusei versus Cade. Hopefully the Orioles can, again, just score runs, have the offense lead the way, and have the offense be the catalyst of this team because, again, the starting pitching on this team is going to be rough sometimes. It's going to be rough with starts from guys like Cade Povich or Dean Kramer, or even if Tomo or Zach Eflin has an off day. There is going to be times where this pitching is going to be a little inconsistent, but this offense is going to have to fight through that and go out there and score runs and find ways to win games, if it's not like a 10-0 game or something like that. If the starting pitcher lets up 4 or 5 runs, this Orioles team is going to have the urgency to not lay down, roll over, and die. They're going to have to go out there and just win games, whether it's high scoring, whether it's low scoring. All they need to do is win games. Doesn't matter how they do it. They just got to go out there and win because that's really all that matters for them right now. If we go over to the standings right now, I think most of the games today have already ended. But if we go over to the playoff standings right now, the Orioles are currently sitting only 6.5 games out of a playoff spot. So if you look at the American League, it is very, very, very tight. The Orioles are one of 3 teams in the American League that have not reached 30 wins yet, and I think there's 6 total teams in baseball that have not gotten to 30 wins. That is the Rockies, the Marlins, the Pirates, the White Sox, the A's, and the Orioles. All of those teams have not yet hit 30 wins. The Orioles are 1 win away, so they should be getting that hopefully very, very, very soon. And in soon, I mean tomorrow. So less than 24 hours, hopefully they'll have 30 wins under their belt. But 6.5 games back from a playoff spot is not too bad. And the team that is ahead of them is the Los Angeles Angels, so that gap will lessen even more if the Orioles can go out there and get a sweep tomorrow against the Angels. 6.5 games out of a playoff spot with still 90-something games left to go. Safe to say that the season is not over. For as rough as it was looking, this Orioles team has really, started to really come back this season, and I'm really proud of them. I'm proud that they've started to come back. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. They've won the past 2. Hopefully they can just keep it up and get back into the season. I would say it still is a little too early to say that this team is fully back. I think if this team can get within 5, 4, even 3 games below 500, and if they can do that at the very beginning of July or the end of this month even, I think that this Orioles team will be rolling and could very possibly make the playoffs and make history while doing that as well. But thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow up on Spotify, and also make sure to click the links in bios. Follow the socials, follow the Twitter or the X, follow the Instagram. I'm live tweeting on Twitter or X every single game, live tweeting whatever's going on with the Orioles. Also, any Ravens updates that are going on as well. Ravens news, again, is going to really start picking up over this upcoming week when mandatory camp starts to go for the Ravens, so we're going to be talking about Ravens content a lot. Obviously, every single Orioles game we're discussing. I'll have an episode up sometime tomorrow, probably like 24 hours from now tomorrow. I'll have an episode up after the Orioles and Angels game 3. Hopefully the Orioles can get a sweep in that game, and hopefully we can just move on with the season and things will be all good to go, because again, this team has a long way to go, but they're getting there. They really are getting there. Only 11 games back of 500, and hopefully they can get a sweep tomorrow. So I'll see you guys in the next one. You have a great sales day, and go O's.